All right, our goal here is to gain a command of the English language so you can be successful writers like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
There, finished. Good Will Hunting by Matt Damon.
Hey, you think we could put both our names on that?
What? You've done nothing but eat briars and smoke pot for the last 6 months.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Come on, I helped.
Oh, yeah? Okay, write a line. Just right now. Just pitch me a line right now.
Okay. How about that?
That wasn't a line. You just farted.
Is there any more pot?
All right, welcome back to NostalgiaCast. I'm Johnny Craddock.
And I'm Darin Lundberg.
And Darin, we have a really special guest back with us again. Tim Hade is joining us again. He came on our show about 4 years ago. It's been a long time since we had him on the show.
4 years.
And he did Fight Club with us, which was awesome.
Yes.
And I always knew I wanted him back. We always talk. You and Tim are friends on Twitter. Yeah.
That's what it's called. I don't know what else it'd be called.
And you guys staying in touch. And I swear it's been 4 years since I texted Tim.
You're supposed to be best friends. I wasn't sure
if his number was the same number or not. I was like, is that still your number, Tim? You still alive?
But you didn't do that, did you?
You
didn't do that, did you? It took you 4 years, and then he did, and then finally.
And he agreed to come back on the show, and we're happy to have him. And Tim, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm very happy to be back. I absolutely loved our discussion on Fight Club, and now we're doing another movie from the '90s, like 2 years.
Yeah, we're gonna do Good Will Hunting, and I have to kind of apologize because we usually let our guests pick the movie, and I have a bad habit of picking the movies for my guests. Because here's the thing: I knew you would either pick Good Will Hunting or As Good as It Gets. So I was like, one of those two movies is what he'll pick if I invite him on. I'll just pick Good Will Hunting for him, and we'll get it over with. We'll just talk about it because I know he'll be happy to talk about it. So I apologize for picking it for you, but I kind of had to.
It's our podcast, Tim. Deal with it.
No apologizing at all. I'm just gonna say I'm really happy that you suggest. It's funny because it's like As Good as It Gets is like the same year, I think maybe.
I think so, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So and then Fight Club's like 2 years. So I guess it is the time that we knew we were like going to college together. But it's interesting that I think the 90s is really well packed there, especially the end of the decade. Had a lot of good movies.
Right.
I think we were in a good time.
So just to remind me, when you guys were in college, were you solving complex math theorems together?
Not me.
Just Johnny.
What were you doing? What were you doing in college together?
Acting, right? And
yeah,
Johnny was one of the only people I knew that was actually filming stuff too. I mean, he filmed. Everyone else was just purely theater.
Yeah. And you were in my movies, weren't you? Weren't you in like at least one of them?
Yeah, I did like little cameos where I came out and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And then I disappeared or got killed or whatever.
Yeah.
As you do.
Yeah.
That was a good time. Hey, real quick, let's talk about that for a second because thinking back of our histories together, like, being in college together and doing acting and stuff, you did a scene from this movie. And I remember it was talked about like crazy. People thought it was amazing. And I think the acting teacher that we had, Rick Macy, he actually like saw the scene and then like recommended his agent get in touch with you. And that's how you got your agent when you were in Utah. Am I right or wrong on that?
I mean, I think you're right. You said it, and it sounds familiar, but I completely blanked on that entire. You even remember the scene partner. I mean, like that's pretty impressive.
And it was a scene where Will and Skylar are fighting about whether he was going to go to California with her or not.
Yeah.
And, I was like,
I forgot I ever did that scene. I really did.
Anyway, what else? Oh yeah, we also had like we rewrote one of the monologues when he was talking to the NSA, and we rewrote it for an award ceremony that we were doing at the end of the year. And you ended up filming the scene and filling in as the Will character because you look like Matt Damon somewhat. But
longer hair.
You did a great job, but we never actually showed it. I don't think. I think we didn't show it because it was kind of like derogatory towards some of the teachers and some of the students, and we didn't want to like hurt anybody's feelings. So we
was it really?
Yeah, so we didn't actually show it, but we filmed it, and I don't know where it's at. I haven't seen it.
Wow.
I don't know if I have like a copy of it somewhere, but
I just remember being super stressed because it was a one take.
Yeah.
One take, and you're pushing in, and we had to type out the whole and it was and was trying to learn a Boston accent, and I just remember thinking like, this is gonna suck. But it ended up being pretty good.
It was
and
pretty
so
good.
I was bummed that we didn't play it, but I forgot. I think there was some things in there that a little,
yeah.
we were
So
edgy.
Right. No, but that was fun. But tell us what you're doing recently. You said you told me you do like a radio show on where can we find the radio show you do?
The radio show I'm doing is very low key. But if you like music, if you like talking movies, which I would imagine I always talk about like what I've seen, but it's mostly an audience of musicians. I mean, that's what the station was started as, was like former musicians or musicians that just aren't in any bands or whatever, what they're listening to, and they put together do it like a radio show, just like a college radio show. And that's what I started doing in 2019, and it's just kind of evolved into now I do about an hour of music, what I'm listening to, or lately it's been very new music that I've been listening to that's pretty cool. And then the second, third hour is dedicated to movies and other like just news, topics. Kind of a fun radio show. It's Brown Pocket Radio is the name of the radio station. It's on Mixler.com, which is a DJ radio station. Wow. And you just put in Brown Pocket Radio. It's every Tuesday, 4 to 7 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay.
And you can create an account and talk. And I actually talk. It's one of the reasons it's nice that it's kind of a small, if people do show up from it, I'm excited, but it's nice because I read all the comments. And
so you take calls from people too? They can call in and talk to you?
I've done it. I haven't done it like professionally. I've taken a phone call and like talked and then like held it up to the microphone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's very rare. It's mostly communicating, through chat. That's cool. The other thing that we do is also music based. Lexi and I do meditative concerts. People call them sound baths. Lexi started doing it in 2020, right before COVID hit, and then COVID hit, and we started doing that on the radio station, doing a sound bath, and then it turned into a regular gig that we do at the Jonathan Club, as well as this place called the Cube downtown. And so we have an Instagram called High Vibes _ Sound Healing, and we post when we're going to do our sound baths. And ours are, different. I don't know if you guys have ever done a sound bath. It's kind of a hippie thing. I know it's a big shock with me, but it's really cool. I mean, my whole process towards it is sound baths are all supposed to be like you just lay there and this meditation. Some people talk through the whole thing. Our concept is like a story. So it's like you try and guide people through a journey with sounds. And that makes it a lot of fun for me personally, but also satisfying when it works, because I like telling stories, and it's a cool challenge to try and tell a story with nothing but ambient type sounds. Not really, they're instruments, but it's not like a bunch of notes.
Right. No, that sounds cool, man.
Awesome. Yeah.
That was really cool. And
I need a lot of Zen in my life, so that's definitely something I'm going to add to my rotation there. So good.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. If it's hard for you to block out, which it is for me, I like sound baths because it gives me something to focus on. Yeah. It's not words, but you can focus on it, so you can really like meditate. And that's what I have a hard time, just sitting there and being like, don't think about stuff, It's like so hard to don't think about. But if there's stuff going on, then it's like easier for me to be like, oh, it's like you're a kid again.
No, it sounds really cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
You said too, you're still doing some acting. Is that what's going on with your acting?
I mean, if I miss it and I want to do it, but the aspects of acting that I don't enjoy always tend to get in the way, which is like taking headshots. I don't have headshots with long hair. So like I tried to get something the other day and I was like, I don't even have headshots that look like me. And I don't have an agent or a manager, but I have things. I put some feelers out there with people I know that are making their own things, which is what I would want to do anyways. I think the biggest motivation people have out here is you want to book anything. And sometimes when you love the medium so much, love storytelling, that's the last thing you want to do is to book anything, because you could book something that you're like, this is not interesting. It's not, and they're not interested either. You're a day player or something, you know? So you go and you do all these bad auditions because you don't like it. They don't care about it. They're looking for someone who's 5'7" and I'm, 4'2". And so like, you don't get it, but all that stuff is not fun. But I love acting. I love working with actors. I love watching great acting, and it's still a love that I have. I hope I do something. The last thing I did was a student film. It was very cool, but she didn't ever make a public release of it. She started working with Kevin Costner. So I couldn't blame her. I was like, all right, I don't blame you. Go work with Kevin Costner in Southern Utah. So
Yeah.
knock on wood, though. If you know anybody who's hiring 4'2", long-haired Matt Damon guys.
Now, if I'm correct, Tim, you're not sitting in a chair. You're actually standing up, right?
This is me standing, yes.
All right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, cool. So would you like to jump into the movie? Should we do it? Should we jump into Good Will Hunting and
Sure, why
see
not?
what we can discover?
Absolutely.
So Good Will Hunting, directed by Gus Van Sant, 1997. Again, Darin, this is one that came out while I was gone, so I didn't get to see it till 1999. And I did see it with you. And
Did I just
I
show
remember,
you
like-
everything that you missed? Like, hey, Johnny, check
basically
this
everything
out.
I missed, you caught me up on it.
Okay.
And your mom was in the
Good
room when we started
friend.
watching it. And your mom, I remember this really distinctly. Your mom like stood up and said, "Too many swears." She just left the room.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah, they do swear a lot in this movie.
Well, that's funny because I was watching it this afternoon and my son walked in, sat for a minute, and then walked out. Too many swears. He said the exact same thing. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. But I fell in love with it when I first saw it, when you showed it to me, and I was like, wow, that was awesome. And I would watch it, on the regular over the years, and I kind of have it memorized. But recently I haven't seen it for a long time, so I was excited to watch it again. And I watched it this morning with my wife, and man, for some reason, like all the scenes that are supposed to make you cry made me cry. It was like usually I can get
imagine
through
that.
it without crying, but I cried every time I was supposed to cry. So I was like, man, this movie's really hitting me this time. But I really enjoy it still. I think it's just a phenomenal screenplay, some phenomenal acting. I think it's really well directed. But we'll talk about all that. But Tim, let's go to you first. I want to hear your history with the movie, and if you like it, if you still think it kind of stands up to the test of time or whatever over the years, or what are your thoughts on it?
Well, as a little, intro, I was a big fan of the movie Glory for years. It was my favorite movie. And Ed Zwick had just directed this new movie, Courage Under Fire. So we went and saw it in the theater. And this unknown to anybody I knew and to my family was this Matt Damon actor in a small role in that movie. And he'd lost like 25 pounds. If you've seen it, he's like, and during the movie, my sister and my mom were freaking out and like talking to each other. And I was just like, they're not into this movie. They're just like, I was bugged. And it wasn't until afterwards that they were like, we were freaking out because you were in that movie. And I had no idea what they were talking about or anything. And then I finally saw it again and I was like, yeah, I guess I can see it. But when Good Will Hunting started getting advertised and getting like, I don't remember thinking like, oh, I want to go see it for sure or anything. I just always like, oh yeah, Matt Damon's in it. But all these people started saying, hey, you look like the guy in Good Will Hunting. You look like Matt Damon. And then, of course, after they won the Oscar, everyone was treating me like a king, asking me where Ben Affleck was. Yeah. So when I was thinking about it, my biggest memory that I remember about, and I feel like this is still accurate, and I'm sure I didn't evaluate it this way, but I just remember thinking of Good Will Hunting. It was like, this is a small indie movie that got injected with magic and it became bigger, and everything about the film became like this just a little bit more I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like a small story, but you have someone like Robin Williams and all these actors just killing it, and you have Danny Elfman, and you've got Elliott Smith and you got Minnie Driver, and they're all doing great performances, and the cinematography is pretty well done, and the everything's really, really well done. But the story could easily be one of those movies where someone's like, yeah, we got a budget for who knows what, $100,000, we're going to shoot this movie. And you could probably do it with the screenplay. I mean, I don't know about in 96, but it has a budget, I think, of like 10 to 16 million.
I thought it was
billion,
$1 million.
jillion.
Only $1 million, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I looked on Wiki. I don't know if Wikipedia
what
is
did that say?
accurate. It said 10 million,
Okay.
which I thought was crazy. So I looked up Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction is 8.6. So I was like, wow, it had a bigger budget than Pulp Fiction, which just seems crazy because Pulp Fiction seems very, you need a budget.
Right.
Whereas in this movie, it's almost like deceptively, where is the budget? But it's absolutely there.
Robin Williams got it all.
Yeah. I will say that I absolutely think it holds up. I haven't watched it for probably over 10 years. I've seen it dozens of times. It was one of my favorite films for a long time. And I think the only reason I stopped watching it was because I just started getting more away from simpler stories about people and like realistic stories. I started loving stories that had bigger implications and possibly symbolism about bigger ideas and everything. All that stuff was so much more interesting, and a lot of movies that were more indie or more character based movies I stopped watching, and this was one of them.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful you guys asked me to do this, because I went to my video store, I rented the Blu-ray because I only have a DVD, rented the Blu-ray, popped it in, and I was like, I forgot how great this movie is. And it's not just great from acting and writing, it's great directing, it's great cinematography, it's great editing, the sound design's great. I forgot about Danny Elfman's score, which was very different. I was a huge Danny Elfman fan, and it's like he even took a left turn there.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yep.
And introduced me to Elliott Smith, which is, he became a beloved. I'm not a huge Elliott Smith person. Like, I don't know his stuff, but a lot of the people like on the radio station, they love Elliott Smith. And this movie kind of gave him, I believe, a good record deal, which then facilitated a bunch of work that they love by him. Mm-hmm. So, long story short, I still love it. And what a incredible movie.
All right, Darin, what are yours? What's your history?
Well, since you were gone, I had to go see movies by myself. So I did see this in a theater. Yeah, this came out, January of 98, because I think they opened it for Christmas to get the Oscar buzz going and get it nominated. But I do remember seeing it in the theater in January. It was one of those that, this is one of the big Oscar darlings. So you definitely want to go see that. And yeah, you hear that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote the script, and you expect it to, which we'll talk about. I want to talk about the history of the screenplay, but you think it's going to be some kind of, action packed, like some, like not very atmospheric, amateurish kind of film, but it was the opposite of that. It's very knowing. It's very smart. And Tim, it's interesting that you said that, because again, I don't think I let it hit me, because I was more interested in like other bigger, like LA Confidential, Titanic was around about that time. So these bigger movies and things like that. And it's interesting because as a juxtaposition, now we've got like nothing but Marvel movies and IP movies. And so putting this movie on and watching it, it's one of those reminders where you're like, this is what movies are supposed to look and feel like, right? It's not all spectacle, and you can actually be about character and have good cinematography that actually, honors the acting that's going on. So yeah, again, it's a movie that I think resonates the older that you get, and there are a lot of things that I didn't notice on that first viewing that once you watch it and start studying the acting and everything like that, it starts coming. I just want to say that this movie is 75% monologues.
Yeah.
And that should not work. You should be watching the movie going, another monologue. What is this, right? But because the acting is so sincere and the story is so well done and you're invested in the characters, by the time Ben Affleck has his monologue, it's like the 8th monologue, you should be rolling your eyes and like sighing, but no, you're like, finally Chucky, his friend, is saying something. He's feeling this stuff, and he's finally opening up to his friend and telling him what he needs to hear. And so you don't care that it's the 8th monologue. I just think that it's incredible that this movie should not work from an objective point of view, but because, and especially Robin Williams and the scene behind me, because of the conviction of the actors, you're just staring open mouthed because of how good and how sincere all the emotion is in here. That's the main thing that I always pick up on whenever I watch this movie again, is how awesome that is.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the screenplay, because you can't talk about Good Will Hunting and not talk about the screenplay, because it's a masterful screenplay.
Yeah.
However, this was based on a play that Matt Damon wrote in high school, right? Isn't that what I...
He was actually at Harvard. He was fifth year at Harvard. His one of the classes was write a one act play, and instead he turned in like the first 40 pages of a script. So that's how that's. So it was supposed to start out as a play, but he did something different, and that's where it was born.
Yeah. So there are obviously a lot of changes from the screenplay from what it was originally supposed to be. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Tim, I want to know your thoughts on the screenplay. What do you think about it, as far as how well it's written? Or
I was going to say, one of the things that I heard a lot when I first moved to LA was the idea that Matt and Ben didn't write Good Will Hunting. It was a common thing that I would hear, and I'd be like, yeah, I guess I could see. And then you'd hear about, script doctors and I just I didn't think too much about it, but it was enough of a conversation where people were like, nah, they didn't, they couldn't do it. And so in preparation for this, I Googled, I was like, script doctor Good Will Hunting. And there was an article about a specific guy, William Goldman,
right?
that people believed he was the one who actually wrote Good Will Hunting. Now, so I was reading this article and I thought, okay, and there's not, they said he didn't. Well, in our neighborhood right here is one of those little free bookstore libraries. Do you guys know what these are? These little,
yeah, like video stores, but for books, right?
Oh yeah, I already flexed the video store thing, didn't I?
Yeah.
They're like little neighborhood. It's like a little bird box or whatever, and people leave books in it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, take one, leave one type thing.
There you go. So there's just one right down the street. So I'm killing time today because I didn't really have plans. And the sun was going down, and I went, and I go there all the time. And there's like 6 books in there. There's never anything about film or anything. This book is sitting there. Which Lie Did I Tell by William Goldman.
Great.
And I was like, well, I'm taking that. So the first thing I do is I go to the index, and I'm like, okay, Good Will Hunting. Does he mention it? And of course, Good Will Hunting.
Wow.
332 and 333. I just did it right there. Then the book opened up to the page. It was just kind of one of those like, okay, whatever, but that's weird. I'm not going to read the whole thing. In fact, I don't even know if I'm going to read any of it. Basically, he starts talking. He's like, he's talking about doctoring scripts. And then he brings up the fact. He's like, if you Google me right now, this is from 2000, is when this book, 2002. If you Google me, it says I wrote Good Will Hunting. And he's like, I didn't just doctor it. I wrote the whole thing from scratch. I spent months of my life in Boston. And though I was 65 when the movie came out, I've been obsessed since my Chicago childhood with the class as it exists in that great Massachusetts city. But the basic problem was not the wonderful story or the genuine depth of the characters I created. It was that no one would believe I wrote it. It was such a departure for me. So what's a mother to do? Here was my solution. I had to meet these 2 very untalented, very out of work performers, Affleck and Damon. They were both in desperate need of money. And then he goes to say he struck a deal with them and he'd write it for him. And then, of course, by the end of it, he's saying, no, that's BS.
Big lie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big lie. He's like, I gave him one note, and it was the same note that Rob Reiner had given them when they were working on the screenplay at Castle Rock, which was they had this whole sequence of him working for the CIA or the NSA, and like there were spies trying to get him, and he was code breaking, and it was a big part of the script. And Rob Reiner was like, take it out. And he says that's exactly. He's like, I gave him one note, and the note was, Rob is right. Take that part out of the script, and that's all. He's like, that's all I did. That's the only thing I did. Now in the behind the scenes, they said. He gave them great advice, which I also like to give to writers. So I think this is great advice for everybody. Matt Damon said that he told them when you're writing a character, to have an actor or a person in mind that that you can just write. You just go, this is what that person would say. And it doesn't have to be a commitment or anything, but it's just a way of making it so that your brain just releases the dialogue. And that's something that I found for myself was once I did that, it was super easy. I remember thinking like, oh, this is like a life hack, but it really does make a difference. So he didn't say that. Matt Damon said that. Long story short, in the behind the scenes, they talk about how much input they got. Massive, and they give credit. So I see why people have this idea of like, they didn't write this great script. Well, it's true in the sense that they let people improvise. Robin improvised a lot of stuff. They added some things that were in, through working on scenes. They went to mathematicians to talk about the math stuff and to make it legit and to make it so that what would Will really do that would be impressive. They talked to therapists. So it was the best thing you could possibly do if you have a great screenplay is get a whole bunch of notes and take all the great ideas. And that doesn't mean you're not the screenwriter anymore, but they absolutely, for years, accumulated great notes and incorporated that stuff in. And hence we have a screenplay that almost seems superhuman. It seems like, oh, Will Hunting wrote it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the screenplay that you're talking about. That's definitely the thing that people would write their first time out. Want to have action scenes and it's like a spy thriller, and because nobody wants to buy a hard hitting drama, and a hard hitting emotional drama. What I think that rumor would have started from is again what Matt Damon was 26 and Ben Affleck was 24 when they wrote it, and there's a depth and a humanity and a knowingness to this script, especially in the way that they write Will's defense mechanisms and how those are integrated with every conversation that he has, every confrontation that he has. So if you hear that these 25, 24, 26-year-olds wrote the script, you'd be like, yeah, come on. Even Robin Williams said that. Like, how could they write this? I think they showed it to Francis Ford Coppola because Matt Damon, I think, was making The Rainmaker before, and Coppola loved it. He's like, how did you guys write this? So I understand that it's kind of above their pay grade, if that makes any sense. But and again, you get Robin Williams, you get Stellan Skarsgård in here, you get these actors that are so great that you're kind of like, oh, you have to raise your game, right? You can't just be some kind of cheap. I just think, like I said, with the monologues, the acting adds so much to this, but that's because of great writing and great character kind of growth. There's a lot of great emotions in here. So yeah, I understand why people would say, oh, Damon and Affleck didn't write this, because it seems kind of unbelievable, but here we are. It's definitely a thing.
Yeah. And then they win the Oscar.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So let's jump into the acting since, we're all actors here. Obviously I think we should focus on Matt Damon first. I think, I love his performance in this movie. There's not one scene where I don't think he doesn't bring it. He was so focused on this character, and he knew the character so well that you believe every second of it that he is Will Hunting. And there's a scene when Robin Williams is giving that monologue in the park about Oliver Twist and all that. The moment when he tells Matt Damon, you're an orphan, right? You see the thought process hit Matt Damon, and you see that he's like, all of a sudden, all the memories of the bad things that happened to him when he was, going through the foster homes and stuff comes back to him. And just that little twitch of the eye, in the thought that he has, you see it and you feel it. And I've always loved that scene because it's like, that's what good acting is. People always think good acting is just yelling and screaming. That's the easy stuff. Yelling and screaming is easy to do. So that scene with, when he's talking to Skylar, also very powerful, very emotional. But like when he's screaming at her, yeah, you feel the emotion too. But as an actor, that's easy to go there. It was for me anyway. I could always go there really easily. It was easy to just yell and scream. But when you're subtle and when you have a thought that is like you can see just in their eyes, that's what I'm impressed by. And I've always loved that scene. But anyway, Tim, since you're our Matt Damon lookalike, what do you think about Matt Damon?
In the movie, not in general.
Well, that was another one of those reasons I was happy to be compared to him, because I thought, back then and now, I was like, he's a really good actor. It's really, at the time, I think it seemed magical. His acting was so beyond my comprehension that it was just like, yeah, it still is that. You don't see a lot of acting. You know what I mean? And he talked about it in the commentary. He was like, by the time we were shooting this, we had done this so much that like, he was just like, at least Ben and Matt, they knew the characters so well. And like Matt said about some of his monologues, he's like, I just had done them so many times. I just knew it. And you see that. That is, you don't see you don't. I mean, it's almost kind of rough when you start. He didn't start his career, but it was the thing that made him big with such a good performance. Because you kind of like from then on out. I mean, I think it might be his best. I don't know if he ever did anything that is
As good.
yeah, for me. I mean, it's just so pitch perfect. And I think that like what you said, the subtle things, he's really good at not doing anything when nothing's, I mean, not doing anything like that subtlety when it's right. And even the scene when he yells to Skylar, I love the build up to that. I mean, it starts with him laying on the ground, face in the pillow.
Yeah.
And he's so, you don't know where it's going to end up. And that's what's so good is like even as he's like starting to give his excuses, his defense mechanism is coming up. It's very down to earth. It's not till she keeps pushing and then accuses him that he starts, getting more irate. And it feels like a real, there's so many moments I thought that feels like that would happen in life. Like I would see that happen, or I'd be in that situation, and that would be real. It doesn't feel like some screenwriter wrote some great scene, which is kind of magic because they're all great scenes that are deceptively realistic.
Yeah.
So yeah, speaking of Matt, love him. I mean, the acting all across the board, I could probably talk about all of it, but Matt's fantastic.
Darin?
Well, you talked about Courage Under Fire. I do remember that's a really good movie to begin with, but the way that he lost the 20 pounds, the way he looks like a drug addict, the way his commitment for just a smallish part, you knew that this was an actor that would be going somewhere. And to see him in The Rainmaker, to see him in this, and you're right, it's all about. I know that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon have been friends for a long time. And I love, just recently they had The Rip come out on Netflix, I believe. And they did the rounds, they did the interviews, like the promotion, and it was just them together, just hanging out. And I love seeing that. I love seeing how good of friends they are. And I like that they had, I believe, a conversation about who's going to be the lead for this movie, like who would be better. And they decided to go with Matt, I think just because like the monologues or whatever, he just knew it inside out. And I think it was the right choice. I think Ben Affleck, we'll get to him. As always, he's better as a supporting player than a lead guy, I think. But I just think that what's so great, and it's all going to start with the screenplay, is how Will has kept 20 years of pain and anguish just wrapped up inside of him. And he's just a coiled spring, but he has these defense mechanisms that he's built up over time, whether it's with humor or dismissal or violence or anything. And we see those things play out. That's why that screenplay is so great. We see the playground brawl. We see him with humor in the trial place. We see him try to dismiss stuff when he's doing the problems, or when Jerry comes and gets him out of the prison. And the emotional scenes, I know that they make fun of Matt Damon for not being able to cry, but it's just so heartbreaking once you realize what's going on and you see him putting up his walls. You can actually see it happen, and it kind of breaks your heart because these people do honestly care about him, but he's not letting them in, and he's literally forcing them away because he doesn't want to be put out of his comfort zone. And you can see all of that. So especially, which we'll come back to when we talk about it, the defense mechanism bit, but when he breaks down at the end, that's one of two scenes that just absolutely wrecks me. And it's because of how real it feels, and because you can feel that emotion come spilling out of him. There isn't a moment here where he's not sincere, where he's not earnest, where you don't actually feel him, live these experiences. So yeah, I think he's great. Well worth all the praise that he's gotten over the years.
All right, so let's jump into Ben Affleck. See, we've talked to him before, I think, Darin, a little bit. I know you're not the biggest fan of his, but I actually think he's not as bad as people think he is. I think he's better than we give him credit for. And there's lots of things he's done that I really like. Argo, I like Argo. Also, he did a thing back in the early days of his career on HBO, some short thing about using steroids. And that really impressed me. It was just a little short film, but I was like, man, that was really good. That guy can act. And I realized later it was Ben Affleck. So like, oh, wow, he's actually pretty good. But what's your memories, or what's your thoughts on Ben Affleck, Tim?
Yeah, I think, I'm not a Ben Affleck fan, but I I think that he fits this character very well. I feel like he like knows this character very well, and it seems real. It seems like it's coming from a very grounded place, you know, as we'd probably say as actors. And he doesn't seem like he's putting on an affectation and his persona. And he does. I mean, they made the right call. Matt Damon seems like a smart guy, and Ben Affleck, I think he does seem like the dumb guy who's going to get left in Boston by his smart friend. It really just does. It's like, yeah. And I think he is more talented than people give him credit. And I think he's shown his talent as a director as well. And in the commentary, he was saying a lot of stuff that you could tell. The commentaries from like 2011. So he'd done one movie and maybe directed by himself. But you could just tell he has a director's mind. And he's complimenting Gus on a bunch of the stuff in the film. And I'd say it's, you know, it's not my favorite acting in the movie, but it's great. It fits right in. I mean, yeah.
Well, I pick on him. The thing is, like somebody like Cary Grant or Humphrey Bogart, they were good at what they did. I don't know if I would consider them great actors, but they were great movie stars, if that makes sense. Like they were like, if you wanted Cary Grant to do a particular thing, he would do it, like in romantic comedies or anything like that. So I can't say that they're bad actors because they definitely had skills. They knew what they were good for. I think Affleck, I don't think he can do layers. Like it's a little bit nerdy. When you do Batman, you have to be able to have a darkness and a light. You have to be able to have multiple layers going. I don't think Affleck is capable of doing maybe more than one or two layers at a time. So I don't think he works there. But when he's a charming kind of ne'er-do-well, I think he's very good. And here he's very, very good. He's funny when he goes to that McNeil meeting. That's retainer. You know, he does all, he's very funny, very believable. But then when he has, again, that monologue where he lets Will have it, just calls him out on everything, it feels very authentic because this is his friend and he just has had enough. I love that even in Will's eyes, he can still that, oh, even Chucky has limits. Chucky's not even going to let me stay within my comfort zone. And he basically says, I'm tired of this for you. You need to go out and do other things. If you care for me at all, you will make something of your life because you can. I'm fine where I am, like I'm the dumb friend, but you can go and do something and make something of your life. And I totally believe that. There isn't a false note that Affleck hits here. And that's what I mean. Like, I think he's great when you put him in a certain kind of role and he really nails it. He's very charismatic. And the other thing I want to mention is Affleck is very, very smart. Damon is very, very smart. I know that when they hit fame, Damon had a better handle on it. He's got a good family life. And then Affleck faced alcoholism and can't really nail down a relationship and all that. I think he just divorced J-Lo and now they're dating again. So it's like, oh my gosh, what's happening? But listen to Ben Affleck talk about the movie making experience. Listen to him just recently talk about AI and what that means. He's very smart and very educated, and I could listen to him talk for hours because, and same thing with Matt. There's a Hot Ones episode where Matt is asked about the industry and where it's gone and how, you know, we can't get revenue from VHS anymore because that's not happening. Like, we're not releasing things to video anymore. Then we're doing streaming. We don't get money off of it. These guys have been in the industry for so long that they know their stuff. Famously, again, they were extras in Field of Dreams, my favorite movie. They were out in the stadium during the Go the Distance scene. But they've been in this industry for so long that they know their stuff. So it's not surprising at all during the commentary that Affleck would have a director's mind. They're very smart. I don't mean to say that Affleck isn't the worst actor. I just think that he's great when you put him in a certain role, and this in here is his perfect role.
Sure.
I just want to add real quick because I forgot. That last scene with Affleck where he doesn't have any lines, where he looks in the house, sees the Will's gone, and he has all those conflicting emotions of both like happy and sad. This was the first time I saw that, and I was like, damn, that was perfect. Pretty amazing. And no dialogue for a movie that's heavily reliant on great dialogue. I mean, until he goes back, you know, to the car, he says, not there. Everything's all internal, and it's really good.
You know what's great about that scene too is Johnny and I were just talking in our Gross Point Blank episode about how sometimes directors will sacrifice continuity for an emotional moment. You look at that scene when they show up, they've given Will a car.
I know. I was going to say that.
The car is not there and it doesn't register with them that he's not there. So they do the scene where he walks up, but understand, do what's better, having them pull up and go, oh, he's not here, let's leave, right? And then there's no impact. No, you have to have the scene because they've integrated it in your brain. This is what, the third time, the World of Threes, right, where we see him go up to the door. You need that moment where you see that look on his face that his friend is gone and made something of his life. So when people say, oh, the car isn't there, I'm like, shut up. Like, you need this scene. I'm glad that they sacrificed this so we get that great emotional scene. I was watching it today going, that's actually funny because that's one of the instances of, oh, the logic doesn't play out. But no, they want to nail that emotional moment. And you're right, Tim. It's a perfect kind of wrap up to that whole relationship.
Well, that never bothered me, having the car, not be there. Today I was like, yeah, he has a car now. Of course he's not there. The car's gone. But like, you don't think about that when you first watch it. You're like, it's so powerful.
I've
so meaningful
never
that
thought
you don't
about
care.
that.
Yeah.
Ever. I'm almost embarrassed. I'm like, it seems so obvious once you said it. And I'm like, I never once thought, hey, look, his car. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes you just.
That's what movies are supposed to do. They're supposed to sell you on the emotion, and it does that. So please, all these people that are trying to pick at logic, just shut up. Stay in your lane.
Yeah. All right. So Robin Williams, he won an Academy Award for this one, Best Supporting Actor. So I don't have much to say negative about it. I think it's probably one of his best performances ever. However, there are some moments where I feel like he slips into being Robin Williams and he's not Sean in some cases, like some scenes. So, I mean, I don't fault him for that because that's just who he is, and that's fine. I mean, you bring yourself into the character anyway. So when he slips into being Robin, I go, okay, it's just, he's just, that's who he is. But still, awesome performance. I love the monologue at the park where he's talking about, I know you because I read Oliver Twist. That whole monologue is like my favorite scenes in the whole movie, I think. But yeah, I think the Academy Award is well deserving. I think he earned it and he did a great job, and he is a big part of why this movie is so good. But what are your thoughts, Tim?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that Robin Williams aspect, but that is true. And I guess that's true about most of his dramatic work. I think it kind of like Robin is still in there. He's not really a character actor in the sense of like putting on, even him having a Boston accent in the movie is like more than he would usually do in a movie at this point. I absolutely love his performance. I love Robin. I think that he's just a naturally charismatic, likable person. And I noticed for the first time, the first thing you hear him say is trust in the movie. As soon as he's introduced, he says trust. And I just thought, well, that's great writing, great editing, great everything, because it's like, this is the guy that Will has to trust in order to, break out of where he's at. And also, I really like going back to a lot of films with great dialogue that are written really well. Sometimes it's like they don't give you a break from the dialogue. They're just constantly showing off how great the dialogue is. And I love that this movie has sections of silence, of nobody talking, just images. And I really love the sequence between when Will leaves and he looks at the painting and it just zooms in on the painting and then it turns into a sink full of dishes and he's just sitting there drinking alone in his house. All this information you're given without
Visually.
any...
Yep.
Yeah, visually. You see a sink full of dishes. You see alcohol. You see him drinking alcohol. And you see him struggling inside with this stuff. And it's a great moment of acting, but also like this is pure, going back to what you were saying about Matt, there's no words. It's seeing what's going on. We put our own emotions of what's going on inside, but if the actor is doing a great job, it's very easy. You go, oh man, you feel that they're going through something. And he has moments like that. Specifically that moment I really, really love from a whole filmmaking performance perspective. But I think, I love Robin Williams. I love him.
Well, Johnny, you say that there are, I think what happens is when you see Robin Williams, you expect certain things from Robin Williams, right? I think maybe one of the scenes you're talking about is the fart story, right? Which he did improvise. And when you see Matt Damon laughing, that's really Matt Damon laughing.
Yeah, that's
and
real
you,
laughter. Yeah.
you even see the camera shake because the guy holding the camera is laughing so
Yeah,
hard
yeah.
the story. And I get that. The only other thing is when you compare it to other Robin Williams movies, like say Toys, where he literally breaks to do a stand-up routine, and you're sitting there looking at your watch, going, "What does this have to do with anything?" That's when it really bugs me. When he does it in here, it's a way to break down Will's defenses, and I think it ties in thematically at least, even though you can tell it's a Robin Williams bit. I think at least it's serving the story instead of, "Hey everybody, let's take a break so we can see Robin Williams actually do some stand-up for a little bit." I think it actually ties in with that, and it helps Will out. The thing is, like, yeah, once you put a beard on Robin Williams, he's going to give a serious performance. I think it's the commitment in here. I think he really respected Affleck and Damon once he met them, and so he's not going to screw this up for them. He's going to put in a good performance. Tim, I love, again, visually, I love when you see him drinking and he puts the cup down, and it's the cup, the glass that dominates the frame, because that is what's controlling his life, right? So even that's done visually. But the way, like I was saying, that monologue by the riverside, it shouldn't work. It's silly because it's just Robin Williams talking while Matt Damon just sits there quiet, not saying anything. That shouldn't work. It's not cinematic. But the way that they shoot it, just close up on Robin for most of it, and then you get quick glimpses of Will, it separates them. It's visually telling you that they're separated. But I think the thing is that when he's talking about, you don't know what real loss is, right? You don't know what it's like to be in a waiting room and somebody tries to kick you out. It's like, no, wait, visiting hours don't apply to you, right? He's saying things that are affecting Will in a way that nobody's told him before. I love their first confrontation scene. Again, when Will is needling at him, right? He's trying to find his little weaknesses and he keeps adjusting his strategy. I love that Sean keeps like bouncing the ball back, like he's playing just fine and keeping up with them. And you see it in Will's eyes where he looks at the painting and realizes, I've got him, this is his weakness, right? And when you understand that both of these guys have come from abusive backgrounds, the way that Will has pushed Sean to actually get physical with him because he insults his wife, that's a violation for both of them. And I think they both realize, I think Will's like, you can see it in his eyes, like, oh, this guy means business. Like he's fighting back. And so he walks out, and then you see Sean just kind of like, I can't believe that it went there. Right. But I'm going to pursue this. I love that that's their first dynamic. I love that it's Robin Williams. He's going to be funny. He's going to break down your defenses and you're going to like him. I love the scene where he talks about, the game 6, the World Series, right? Where he gets, as an audience member, you are so involved in that story that you think he's actually there, because it does the shot where it's up above. You see him like Robin, like reenacting like the way that the play is going. And so you're wrapped up in it. And then when Will goes, did you rush the field? Like, no, I didn't rush the field. I wasn't there. And you're like, oh my gosh, he like got me as a storyteller. And I love how that devolves into it. No, I was with this woman that I wanted to talk to, and I realized that if I passed up that opportunity, I would regret that for the rest of my life. It's like, I don't regret any of the years I spent with her, right? But and it really breaks them down. It's like that's the stuff that you really are looking for. And what really sells that scene is when they're done, they both sit, and again, by this point, Will is respecting Sean. He's actually opening up to him, right? They sit down, and Will goes, "It would have been really good to catch that game." And Sean goes, "I didn't know Pudge was going to hit a home run."
Yeah,
it's so funny because it's not a scripted moment. It's a human moment that's like, yeah, he did realize this, but now he does. Oh, if I known he would have had hit a home run, I would have gone. And so it's just so very human. And again, we keep mentioning that we're going to come to the defense mechanisms when at the very last the climax, the crux of their relationship, when Sean is, I know all this kid's defenses, and I'm not going to let him push me away. I'm going to break through these defenses and get to him. It's like, wow. The movie is basically a 2-character drama, because both of them, when you watch their interrogation, when you watch their therapy scenes, it's both of them opening up to each other and healing each other. So again, we're talking about Robin Williams. It's mostly screenplay stuff, but Robin Williams does sell all of that. And again, I love the part at the end. It's like, does this violate the patient-doctor relationship? Only if you grab my ass, right? It's like, it's so, again, he's become a father to Will, and Sean has found somebody to actually care about after his wife. It's so great. It's mostly comes down to the writing, like I said, but the performances totally sell that. And Robin, man, I miss him. I miss him so much, knowing how good he was and how funny he was. Every time I think of that guy, my heart just breaks all over again because I miss him so much.
Yeah. Okay, well, Casey Affleck and Cole Hauser are the buddies, and
I always forget that it's Cole Hauser in there. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. He's the fourth friend.
I won't spend too much time on them, but I really like Casey Affleck in this. I think he's the comic relief, and I think he's really funny. He's got a lot of the funny lines in the movie. Anyway, the other main person I want to talk about is Minnie Driver, because I think she gives a great performance as well. Like, I talked about her a little bit in our Grosse Point Blank episode, Darin, that I mentioned I wasn't really a fan of hers when I saw Circle of Friends, and I wasn't quite sure what I would think of her in Grosse Point Blank, but she won me over, and she also won me over in this one as well. But what are your thoughts on Minnie Driver there, Tim?
Yeah, I absolutely love the performance. It's very you believe that she is who you believe all these people. That's one of the things that's so great about it. You believe it. You just go, yeah, man, these are guys from Southie. She seems like this, this rich, even his assumptions of like the money, it's like she has that, but yet she can be really goofy on their date in the store with all the things. She's being ridiculous and like, kiss me right now. And I think she's incredibly beautiful and charming as well. I mean, I just think it's a great pairing. I mean, one of those things that almost seems lost in today's Hollywood, I don't know, as weird as that sounds, just these very natural but charismatically beautiful people. One of the things they said on the commentary, which I thought was great, is that she had actually bet when they were at the horse track, she actually placed a real bet on the horse that won. So when her horse won, she's actually just responding to the fact that the horse that she bet on won. And so it's like this natural little moment of her just like being happy. Just like when you were talking about when they're laughing, when Will and Sean are laughing about the farting during sleep, that was real and everyone was laughing. To get real moments and to get it so that you can put that into a performance and it just like works. I mean, I don't know if they knew that horse was going to win. I don't know. But it's one of those things where you're like, well, that does seem very believable. And she seems super fun. Is like, this is the greatest day of my life. I've just won a bet or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love her.
Another moment that got me to cry, by the way, is when she's on the phone and he doesn't say, she says, I love you to him. And he says, take care. And she doesn't say, I love you back. And she starts crying. She kind of like doubles over a little bit. That got to me. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I felt the hurt in that moment. I was like, she really hurts because this guy can't say I love you.
Yeah, you're right. She bends when he first leaves after their first fight. She like bends over like she's been punched in the stomach. I forgot about that. It's so good. You really feel, and on the phone, you really feel like this person is like in major pain. It's not a performance at all. It doesn't feel performative to me whatsoever.
Right.
Well, it's funny because when they were trying to cast her, notoriously, it's the Weinstein company that bought this script. And so Harvey Weinstein's note was nobody's going to want to screw Minnie Driver. That was his main thing, which is weird because it got her a nomination. I think she's very, like in Grosse Point Blank, very sexy and appealing and attractive. Right. And it's the same thing here. What I like is that she's also experiencing this maybe for the first time. I love that conversation where she's like, how do you do this? And he's like, I just can, like, it just comes to me. Right. And she's like, I'm just finding you now. I don't understand this. So she has that moment of also, and their first scene together when they're at the toy shop, right? I wrote down their chemistry is off the charts. You can tell they really enjoy each other's company. That's hard to fake, and they really get that when they're trying on different things and they're making each other laugh. He does the thing with the caramels and says, "It works better when I have my rabbit," that kind of thing. And when they're eating their sandwiches, talking about their let's get the kiss out of the way. I think that their chemistry is just so fun together, and they feel like a couple, which they were romantically involved during the movie itself. So that plays off. But just to come back to that confrontation scene, what's great about that is she's opening up to him. Every conversation that these characters have are about opening up to each other or shutting down. And Will has not shut down other than having that first date and then not calling her back, which I thought was a nice little scene to throw in there, not being able to call her. But That was my thought. It's like, because of his talks with Sean, would Will have gone to her dorm? Would he have made that step? I don't think so. I think what's happening is you're seeing all these characters, even Stellan Skarsgård, who's great in this. He's his normal, usual self. So I don't know if we have to talk about him any more than that, but he cares about him. Sean cares about him. Skylar cares about him. They're trying to get him to open up, and it works to a point. But when she asks him to go to California with it, you can see that defense mechanism kick in. That's what turns him off. And all of a sudden, that's when it spirals, right? And she doesn't understand. She doesn't know why he's tossing. She has a moment. When I start crying is when they start yelling at each other. He's like, do I have a sign on my back? It's like, you don't want to hear this stuff, Skylar. You don't want to know that my father put cigarettes out on me, that he stabbed me. And she gets a look on her. I didn't know that. And she starts crying because you can tell she hurts for him because she cares for him so much. And this is hurting her to find this stuff out. But I love, he's even using the violence. He noticed that he doesn't hit her, right? It gets so loud. He hits the wall, but he doesn't hit her. I think it's because nothing else is working. She's still needling at him to get him to open up. And he does that to kind of throw her off, but she doesn't, because she recognizes that. Again, it's coming down to the writing again. But when she says, just tell me you don't love me and I'll let you go, and you see in Will's eyes, this is my out. And when he says, I don't love you, it's funny, Johnny, that we saw heartbreak in Grosse Point Blank and in here. You can feel her heartbreak, but you feel it so much more in here because this is not a comedy. When he says that to her and he marches out, and she's opened herself up and taken the chance, and he shot her down. And yes, she doubles over in pain. She makes some noises with her crying that I've never heard an actress make, where you can tell that it's an actress crying or feigning it crying. No, I actually feel that her heart is broken and she's just doubled over in pain because she's been gut punched. And I sobbed today watching it because you could tell that he's doing that to do this to her, and he did it. And so she's just on the bed, just sobbing to herself because she doesn't, again, she put herself out there. It's so powerful. And when I saw this movie the first time, just to give you a little bit of a inside Darin kind of look here, I actually had this happen in one of my relationships. There was a girl that I was dating in high school, and she got too close to me, and we had a fight, and I told her that I didn't love her. And so me personally watching that scene, I felt what both of them were going through. And it's just so shattering that, yeah, I just started sobbing at that point because it's so real. And it's because of Minnie Driver's performance that she's so committed there. And it's just, and again, you guys talking about the scene where she's on the phone, you can tell she's been crying for a while. Like, she's gutted. It's like she's been drinking Drano, and she just puts that out there. I love you. And I love the look that we get on Damon's face where he smiles hearing that, but he's still going to shut her down. Right. I don't know. That's the kind of acting that you can't fake. It's so authentic and raw. And yeah, just a powerful, powerful scene. Tim, I can understand why your acting coach was like, yeah, let's get this guy signed up, because it's a great scene to begin with.
Yeah. Okay, so Darin, you said you want to talk about the defense mechanisms more. So what else did you want to talk about as far as that goes?
Okay. Well, we've mentioned them before. What's amazing here, and Tim, I want to get your input on this here, is that, again, he's been through so much pain that he's just shut him. He uses humor, like I said, he uses violence, he uses dismissals. And when he's going through that, the therapy or whatever, first of all, the first thing that you get when they're in that bar, and I love the do you like apple scene where that Mr. Ponytail guy, he basically takes him down, right? And it's awesome because you can see Will not wanting to get involved, but they keep cutting to a shot of Damon like watching this guy go with Chucky. And you can tell that, oh, I'm not going to let this guy like be inauthentic and go at my friend. But you can tell that he wants to stay anonymous. He doesn't want to get involved, but he does anyway because he can't let this guy get away with it. And I love the camera work there where there's a couple shots where you see the camera push back to get the reaction of the friends behind Mr. Ponytail and also behind Wilder. I love that. But when he goes to the therapist, basically what he says to the Mr. Ponytail guy, like, you just memorize stuff and you think that makes you hot. That's exactly what he does with all these therapists. Will is memorizing these guys' works and these books so he can get them or aha them in the moment, belittle them to make them feel small. He's doing the same thing that the Barney does, right? I thought that was fascinating. And then when he gets to Sean, again, he walks around the room. He's like, you guys freaking astound me. Like, you buy all these books that have to do with nothing. He's really trying to get to Sean, and it's not working. Sean is like volleying back. He's like playing along. And again, it does get to that point. You can see it in Will's face that, oh, this guy's wife is the weakness. I'm going to go after that. And they have that little breakdown there. But again, you skip to the Skylar scene. It's the defense mechanisms. He's fine. He wants to stay in his comfort zone. He doesn't want to leave. And then when the conversation doesn't keep going his way, that's when he starts insulting her, right? You just want to be with the other trust funds babies and talk about how you went slumming once, right? He's trying to insult her and belittle her. She breaks through that, and she keeps breaking through that to the point where he has to resort to violence and then tell her that he doesn't love her. Again, defense mechanisms. And we can see it in his eyes when it kicks in. And when he goes, he has the scene with the McNeil guy or the NSA or whatever, and he has that whole monologue that you guys were talking about. And again, Sean, that dynamic between Sean and Jerry, where there's so much resentment between them and they get in that argument. Would Sean, if they hadn't had that argument, he and Jerry, would he have gotten to the point where he's like, I'm tired of your bullshit, Will? I'm not letting you get past this. Like, let's talk about this. So that scene where he says, do you feel alone? Like you got a job at Harvard so you could do math problems? Like, nobody, you're not doing that for the honor, right? And you see Will, who's been opening up to Sean this whole time. You see him again, the defense mechanism kick in. He stands up and he starts belittling Sean. Like, what about you freaking burnout? Notice too that he doesn't insult the wife. He's trying to insult Sean. I think he respects the wife too much to go there. I thought that was interesting. But the way that he says to Sean, like, what about you? Most people would have the sack to ante up and you won't even do that. And again, Sean won't buy into it. He's like, what do you want to do? You can't even give me a straight answer, right? So another example of that defense mechanism. When he tells off Jerry Rambeau, it's the same thing. Like, he burns the theorem that they're trying to work on. Like, that's how he really gets to him. And I guess the last thing that we should really talk about acting wise is the final confrontation, the catharsis between Sean and Will, where again, you see the defense mechanisms. Like, he walks in, is like, oh, are you going to fail me or whatever? And then when Sean does it's not your fault. First, you can see like Will go, yeah, you're right. Like, try to dismiss it that way. Then he keeps going at him. It's not your fault. And he tries to stand up and laugh it off. Like, yeah, you're right. I know, right? No, you don't, son. It's not your fault. You can see him stand up, get defensive. He's like, don't screw with me, man. Don't screw with me. It's not your fault. He shoves Sean at that point, again, resorting to violence. But Sean has seen through all his defense mechanisms. He knows that these are just ploys to get people to back off. And he literally has backed Will into a corner, right? And it's that part where he just keeps telling him, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. And that is, wow, that is powerful, because all of that resentment and all that anger over 20 years just comes flooding out. And what kills me is when he finally breaks down and they're holding each other. When Will says, I'm so sorry, that ruins me. It always ruins me in movies when people, because it's not his fault, right? It's not his fault that he got abused. Why is he apologizing? But he's kept this, I don't know, that part just kills me. I love that Sean calls him son. I know that he says, just screw them, okay? Don't worry about them. And they're just holding each other as kind of a father and son. I love seeing those defense mechanisms break down and how everybody breaks through them. And that's the kind of thing you don't get from a screenplay from a 26 and a 24-year-old. That is unheard of, to get that kind of humanity in there. I don't know. Tim, I just went on a long rant, but any of that, so what do you think of that as from a writing and a performance perspective?
It's so well written. The setups and the payoffs in the movie, there's so many, just even small little, like, you set something up and you pay it off. And even as you're talking about this, it never occurred to me how similar that scene is to the one with him and Skylar, in the sense that he gets violent against Sean, and he says,
clockwork.
No,
yeah,
he pushes him. He's like, don't F with me, he's like, not you, and he's just coming at him. But it's the same, like you were saying at first, he's like, and then it slowly builds. The same way that their scene is a very similar thing, that she's this loving person getting close to him, and at first he's kind of like, whatever, and then the more it pushes, it's get away from me. But this time, it's Sean isn't arguing or doing anything. It's just that repetition of the thing. Another really interesting thing from a writing perspective, I thought, that they mentioned when they were talking about the movie, I thought this was fascinating. There was a time where two therapists would go into a room with a patient that was very despondent or just not talking, not opening up or anything. And then they'd go at each other in honest ways, not in a mean way, but just be like, I don't like your wife. And then the other therapist would say something like, what do you mean? You know, they'd start having like a real head-to-head thing. And a lot of times, all of a sudden, this patient would motivate them to come out and like be part of this thing that's happening. Because all of a sudden, it's not about them, it's about these things, but they have an opinion about that. So they were going for that same thing when Jerry and Sean are arguing and Will's listening to it. It was based on the same idea that he sees these two going at each other and saying real truth. And so it's part of him's like allowing his past to be examined a little bit more than he probably would have beforehand. Another thing that's really cool about that scene is the opening credits is this kaleidoscopic imagery that's all like fragmented and that they shot through this like crystal Christmas tree. The only other time you see that is when he's talking about his father abusing him. Right. And there's one shot where all of a sudden it goes all fractured. And it connects this thing, which is, I think is kind of basically in the screenplay where he's like, the reason he's such a good mathematician is he can see all the possibilities and follow things to end up at the right possibility. But because he's doing that in life, he's seeing all these negative things and not taking risks, because how does he know he's going to end up there? And during the credits, you're seeing a very look at how many times the repetition, all these things are happening, all this stuff. And then his memory of being abused is all of a sudden this fragmented, almost as if that had this impact on the way he thought and the way he went about life. It could be wrong, but from a directorial standpoint, it seems that they're drawing this comparison to his fractured thinking and his what was the word you keep using? His
defense mechanisms. Yeah,
defense mechanisms. It's the two times that they use that visual motif, and so I'm like, I think that they're drawing that comparison to the fact that like the way he was raised and what happened in his past is also part of what makes him great. Unfortunately,
yeah,
and I think that. I just love that I saw the comparison between those two scenes as you were describing it for the first time, going, no, him and Skylar and him and Sean have the same thing. They just end different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I noticed that kaleidoscope effect too. And they actually almost they did shoot a different opening title sequence where they were just walking through a St. Patrick's Day parade or something. And it doesn't have the same effect. You can watch it in the special features, but I love what they did and how they were able to bring it back later in the movie. So I'm glad they went with the kaleidoscope and not the parade.
Yeah. Well, I think we do have to mention all this stuff that we're talking about. Great screenplay, great acting, but Gus Van Sant, I think this might be his most accessible movie, his least weird movie. It still has a lot of really interesting choices that he did, like you guys talking about the kaleidoscope effect or the glass being like really up front, almost like a split diopter in a way. But yeah, I think he has a real good control over letting his actors do what he needs to do. And it's even to the point, like we talked about, where you see certain shots like actually work thematically. I think the cinematographer, Jean-Yves Escoffier, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. But it's when Will is in his element, it's very warm amber colors. When he feels cold and not involved and kind of separated and uncomfortable, it's like these cold blue, purple colors. And you can see those play out. Again, it's very kaleidoscopic that way in the colors that it chooses. But I just think that Gus Van Sant is a very idiosyncratic director, and with Drugstore Cowboy and My Own Private Idaho, which are great, powerful movies that came out before this, but he's letting the content of the movie, he's letting the story tell the story, and he's just kind of sitting there and supporting it instead of trying all these weird, quirky things with the direction. I think every choice that he makes in here serves the story. I think that needs to be said about the direction. It's everything working together that makes this a great movie. It's not just Robin Williams making it good. It's not just Casey Affleck improvising, making it good. It's everything working in tandem to make this experience that we've been watching.
That's what I was going to say. I always say this on our show, Darren, that I love when everything comes together. When you have great acting, great directing, great writing, and it all comes together and just makes a masterwork. And I think that's what happened here. And I love this movie, and I think, like I said, everything came together. Tim, any final thoughts or anything you want to mention that you didn't mention that you want to get out?
This is a bucket list episode, after all.
Yeah, you know, I'm very impressed with the directing of it. It's just it's deceptively simple. You know, you almost don't notice. Like this time, I was actually paying attention, being like noticing when the camera moved, and I was like, I don't think I've ever noticed it really consciously. Any of the times I would watch it, it was just like so basic and simple almost. Even the lighting, they said he was used very little lighting. The cinematographer, and also Matt and Ben said that when he got hired, they gave him the script and they said, like, this is yours, and they kind of gave him this permission. And I think that almost allowed him to have confidence in it, but also maybe take a few little steps out there. But
make it your own.
It's just one of those wonderful things. Danny Elfman also said that he worked with Elliott Smith on one. I didn't know that they worked together to create a theme. Part of the score is like part of one of his songs, and they kind of overlap. And he said like it was like one of only 2 times in his whole career where he felt like he actually collaborated with another person during the filmmaking process. And I feel like the whole film is that. It's like a bunch of people really working well together. The actors are working really well together. The script obviously supporting everybody. The cinematography again is actually it's really beautifully shot, but you never go, wow, the cinematography of Good Will Hunting. You never would say that. But man, is it doing a great job. Same with the editing. Some great editing choices that I never thought about, where I almost be like, oh, I don't know if I would have done that. But then I'm like, yeah, but that was really good. That works really well. And it makes everything come together. And who knows what it could have been. Michael Mann was interested in directing this.
Yeah.
He shot, can you imagine what Mel Gibson was going to play Sean
that was crazy.
And direct it.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Think about, so the possibilities, all the different scripts. They even had, they put in a joke in the screenplay because they didn't think Castle Rock was reading it anymore, that Sean and Will had some like oral sex scene. And they put it in as a joke, and it wasn't until like Miramax went back to Miramax as one of Harvey's notes was like, can you take that whole, and they were like, we forgot we put that in there. We put that in there because we didn't think they were reading it anymore.
Yeah, that's funny.
But it's just like all the possibilities of how it could have ended up, and it ended up so good, and it's aged really well. I mean, it does seem like one of those just magic movies. It really, it's kind of hitting a home run. You know what I mean? To bring it back to the Red Sox.
Absolutely.
Pudge Fisk. Well, Tim, having you on our episode made this episode magic too. So we appreciate you coming on.
Ah, man.
We love having you. And we want to have you back.
Thank you so much for asking me. Yeah,
next time you come back, I'll let you pick it. You pick the movie next time for sure.
In 4 years.
In 4 years. That would be awesome. Yeah. Yeah, let me know. I mean, I don't know if you guys I know you guys do 80s and do 70s and maybe some in the
we're all over the place.
We're all over the place. We might venture into the 2000s next. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Definitely different vibe. Cool.
Anything else, Darin, you want to mention that you forgot? Or
no, that's great. This is a wonderful movie. Never strikes a false note. It's, just fantastic. Tim, thank you for a lot of great insights here, and I really appreciate that. I love when we get together and it's a movie that we just can pull so much out of with experiences or stuff we enjoyed. And I love, hopefully the people listening to this or watching this will have a similar experience.
Yeah. I want to say not only thank you for having me back, guys, but thank you for having me back for this movie. It's pretty awesome to have this movie be the one that we talk about. I feel pretty special. So thank you.
You should.
And your serendipitous, book finding thing.
I mean, seriously.
Meant to be, man.
Yeah, like seriously, I always look I'm like, this is an area where there's going to be free film books. Never. And then today was that. I was like,
that's awesome.
That reminds me, speaking of Twitter, there was somebody a while ago that found a cassette tape of The Shining in the middle of an empty field. And somebody in the quotes was like, "That's definitely cursed, right? Don't pick that up." So yeah, I love the little Kismet kind of stuff going.
Yeah. Okay, then for NostalgiaCast, I'm Johnny.
And I'm Darin.
And get your Boston accents ready, guys, because we're going to do some Boston accents here. Okay. This is a Harvard bar, huh? That'd be like equations and shit on the wall.
I swallowed the bug.
I just use it for cleanup. What do you want me to do?
Thank you, Tim. That's great.